Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today is really one of my first guitar heroes. You know him best from his classic work with Triumph, but he's here today to talk about his new release, Diamonds, which serves as a best of his first three solo records from the early 90s. It's an honor to welcome Rik Emmett. Welcome, Rik.
Thank you, Jeff. That was very nice. What a nice introduction.
Before we get into anything with the record or music, I have to ask you how your health is. I know you've been through some rough things lately. Everything going good now?
Yeah, I'm fine, and I was never really, in a bad way because they caught it was prostate cancer, and they caught it kind of early, and sort of said, well, and the urologist that I had, he was a surgeon, and he goes, well, let's cut it out, and I go, well, I'm taking some prednisone for some arthritis. Maybe I'm not a great candidate for surgery, and he goes, okay, well, we'll send you for radiology then, and so I went, and I did the course, the 4 weeks of it. And it's not, the only thing is it's an inconvenience more than anything, but the process itself is pretty straightforward, and it only takes about 5 minutes each appointment when you get there. But I decided I'd go public about it because I felt like it's an important thing to get middle-aged men to understand that you have to start monitoring your PSA and just checking it and being aware of the fact that, look, if you live long enough as a man, you're likely going to get prostate cancer. Like if they do autopsies on 90-year-old men, they've got prostate cancer. Men didn't usually live that long, so it's a modern kind of a problem, but there are modern solutions. And so you have to kind of be willing to say, all right, I'll keep monitoring and checking and I'll be a good boy and I'll take the treatment. And I have now every reason to expect that I'll be fine. I have other problems that are way worse. My arthritis that keeps me from being able to be as nimble as I used to be. I'm never going to stop playing, but I've had to start trying to figure some things out that way because I go, there's other things when you turn 70 that start going wrong too.
Yeah. Well, glad to hear that. And so
Thanks.
your first three solo records, Absolutely, Ipso Facto, and The Spiral Notebook, all came out between 90 and 95, and they really represent your rock period as a solo artist, very similar to what you were doing in Triumph. What made you go back now and look at that specific time in your career?
Well, the answer is that Duke Street Records gave me the masters back. I had the temerity to ask Andy Hermant, "Hey man, can I have my masters back?" And he went, "Yeah, sure. Send me a 1-page agreement and I'll sign it and you can have them." So that was the start of it. And then here's this guy, Greg Campbell, that has Merch in Motion, and he's representing my merch rights online and stuff. And then he goes, "Hey, I got this label thing I'm doing with Vic Branco. It's called Music in Motion, and we're looking for stuff. How about a compilation from?" And I went, "Okay, how about the hard rock stuff from those?" Now, in your intro, you said hard rock things. I started out trying to rock hard. Then the second album, I tried to move away from it, and the label said, not just the label, but my manager and the distributor more, Universal. They said, "Oh, wait, hard rock. Where's the hard rock? You got to rock hard." And so there are tracks there that are like, Rainbow Man and Straight Up. And that was the second wave of recording for Ipso Facto. And that was much heavier and more electric guitar oriented. But I was starting to move away from that then. And then the third album, Spiral, it was literally a singer-songwriter record because the music business had kind of moved on and left me behind. They kind of go, Rik Emmett, the guy that was in Triumph, like a guy that was like a 80s rocker. Like, no, we're playing grunge now. We're on to Seattle. And, so I was old, too old for the music business. And that happens, like there's no reason to sit around and weep and cry about it. You just go, okay, I'll accept that. But for the compilation, we decided, hey, vinyl crowd, they might want to have thicker tracks, more band stuff going on. And there's some really meaty stuff that had gone on the Absolutely and Ipso Facto records. And America hadn't really got an opportunity to hear a lot of it because the Charisma label had gone bankrupt when Absolutely came out. And so it kind of just flushed its way down the toilet, and it didn't get any promotion or marketing beyond the initial kind of bump that a couple of tracks got. So it was like, yeah, they never heard Drive Time. They never, and tracks like Drive Time and Stand and Deliver from that album. I mean, there's some nice, serious ensemble hard rock stuff going on there. And then there's some pretty meaty songwriting stuff that kind of carries over and through the three albums that I went, hey, give them another chance, another kick at the can, a second life. Why not? You know? So I went, yeah, sure, let's do it. So voila, Diamonds.
And as you were going through those records and picking out the tracks, is there a song or two that jumped out at you, or like, wow, I forgot how good that specific song was, or that specific part?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I am the kind of guy that I move on. Like I do something and I'm on to the next thing. You know, we're having a conversation about, you know, stuff that I made, you know, 30, 40 years ago, and an album that got mastered a long time ago, blah, blah, blah. And I've already literally, there's another album in the can. There's a poetry book in the can. I wrote a book about making the album. It's in the can. I'm ready to move on to new things. But to answer your question, you know, I go back and I listen to those stuff, and almost every single one of them was a surprise for me on one level or another. I was just doing an interview earlier, and one of the guys was going to play the song "The Pendulum," which sort of was an add-on track to the Diamonds thing. And I went, "Oh yeah, The Pendulum." And so when Greg Campbell had said, "Oh, I think an ad in that track," I went, maybe I should listen to it. I hadn't listened to it in decades, you know. And I went, oh yeah, this is a weird little thing. This is great. This has got some clever little things that are going on and textures and stuff. Because I remember making the record, and Andy Hermant, the guy that ran the label, he was a recording engineer by trade, built studios and things. And Andy stuck his nose in and he said, well, where's all the ear candy? And I went, what are you talking about? He says, well, you make a record, you write a song, you record it, you know, you've got basic kind of bed tracks, and now you've got the song up and running. He said, but then you got to do stuff on a record that makes it so that it's, from an audio point of view, it's really interesting. There's things that are happening in the stereo spectrum. There's things that are happening in the depth of the record. And I went, oh yeah, okay, no, I get you, yeah. So Pendulum is an ear candy kind of, a lot of those Spiral Notebook songs are like that, you know. So, you know, yeah, there's, you know, it was a treat for me when I listened to Hardest Part. And I went, oh yeah, that guitar solo on the tag where we just let it run, and I just get there's no edits in that. That's a one take, which is blowing my brains out. Yeah, like you know, because and those kinds of little things, they're like I don't know what you call them, not watershed moments, but you know, highlights in your recording life. But you move on and you forget them, and then you go, oh yeah, that happened. I remember when that happened. You know, I mean, I listen to, I mean, even the standard stuff like Stand and Deliver and Drive Time and Big Lie and the rhythm tracks, the drumming and the bass playing on that. It's just outstanding work by those people. Randy Cook, Chris Brockway. It was a great, great rhythm section, you know. So I'm happy that they're getting another life, you know. I can't wait to get you know, a vinyl record in my hands and send it to Randy and say, hey man, listen to this on vinyl. Listen to your, you know, like those fills are just incredible.
And they sound amazing now. Did you oversee the remastering of these tracks? Because they sound so bright and modern, you know, not like they were done 30 something years ago.
I would love to take credit for that, Jeff, but in truth, that's Vic Branco is the guy that really, and his studio, he's got it set up for Atmos. He can do those mixes now in like, I don't know, it's not stereo anymore. It's like 5-way, you know. And I went, oh, there's too much for me, you know. I'm an old school kind of guy. No, I would give Vic a lot of credit for that. And probably Campbell sticks his nose in too. He probably gets in there. They just played them for me at one point, and I just sort of went, you know, the Rik Emmett seal of approval. Kind of went with my fist is huge in the screen there. Yeah, that's fine by me. Go ahead. It's excellent. Well done. Move on. Here we go.
And speaking of moving on, after those records, and as you said, with the Spiral Notebook, you could start to hear the change. And then after that, you really expanded. I mean, you opened up into a whole new world of guitar beyond what you were doing. Was that again because of the change in music? It almost freed you up to be whatever you wanted to be, not what a record company was pigeonholing you into?
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. The other way of putting it is that, the music business didn't want me anymore. And I went, okay, you don't want me, I don't want you either. And I'll just make my own little indie label, and I'll make my own records in my basement. Thank you very much. And I started out with a classical guitar record. I'd always wanted to make one. My whole life, I'd wanted to make and it's hard work, man. I had the discipline of writing pieces and then learning how to play them, good enough to make a digital record. And that was another thing. I decided, well, I'm going to verse myself in having the computers and the gear to be able to record digitally. I had been a guy that just did everything old school audio, analog before. So, it wasn't like just a thing of going, well, I don't have to worry anymore about what anybody else thinks. I'll only worry about making records. And if I can sell, I don't know, 1,000 of these, I'll make enough money that maybe I can afford to do another. And so I did even better than 1,000. And then I went, well, now I can add an ensemble. I'll do a jazz record of archtop swing shit that I've always wanted to do. And then it did okay. Jazz doesn't sell that great, but it did enough that I went, okay, now I'll do a blues record. And the blues record, it was the easiest one to make. And it was kind of the most fun. And it sold the most. And then I went, okay, let's just keep going here, So, and I, got into more singer-songwritery stuff after that. But I mean, you could look back on my catalog and you could say, hey, Rik, that's not the album you made on your own, Good Faith. Does it have a lot of roots in the Spiral Notebook album that you made? And I would say, absolutely 100%. Yes. That's like when I'm looking in the mirror and going, singer-songwriter, songwriter more than anything, songwriter, focus on that, like lean on that. So it just depends on which part of my personality I decide I want to lean on, because I was always, I mean, have you read my memoir at all?
No, I haven't had a chance to. I definitely have to pick that up.
But the thing is, like, I started out singing in a church choir when I was like 7 years old, So I was a singer before I was anything else. And then when I got a guitar, I learned a couple of chords. I was a songwriter. So I was writing songs before I was a guitar player, And then when you start to play guitar, it takes you a long time to get any good at it, Like, so now, I did show early promise. And I did, by the time I was 17 or 18, I had my union card and I was getting work. But part of that was because I was a singer songwriter guy. So that I had this, sort of triple threat kind of ability. And the guitar came much later, really as the guitar heroism kind of thing. And it ends up dominating, I think some people might say, Eric Clapton, let's look at him as an example. And they go, well, Eric Clapton is God. And I go, well, Clapton, actually, he might have ended up being a better R&B singer than his guitar playing is a fairly narrow kind of a palette. If you think of those three guys that came out of the Yardbirds, Beck, Clapton, Page, Eric was the narrowest of them all. He was the most old school blues with a lot of stuff that was, well, this, okay, but come on now, that's an Albert King lick, or, oh, come on, I know that, like there's things that he lifted that he kind of stayed with all of his career, which is not to say that he didn't write good songs that weren't like that. I'm not putting him down. But what about Jimmy Page? Well, he expanded a lot more than Clapton did. And then what about Jeff Beck? Well, he expanded the
Yep.
most. He was the most creative of them all in terms of what he made his hands do on an electric guitar, So, I had a little bit of all of them, the influence of all of them, But I think in the end, and I'm answering questions you've never even asked here now, but
No
that's
worries.
typical of me. I think in the end that the process you go through with your rack of guitars behind you, my rack of guitars behind you, you're really only searching for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to find. Like, who am I? When I play these notes and I phrase them this way and I play them on this guitar, what story am I telling that I'm perfectly happily content to tell? This is my story, and I think you eventually you arrive at that as an artist, as a guitar player. For me, happily, I was always arriving at something that I was also a singer and a songwriter, So
Now,
okay, I'm done. Your turn.
as a songwriter, I mean, I was a 12-year-old kid who discovered Triumph with Thunder 7. Still have my original vinyl here. And
Nice.
For me, as much as it was your playing, it was the songs and the lyrics. I mean, Follow Your Heart was a life-changing song. The kind of the Time trilogy on the second half, to this day, I think means more to me now as a 51-year-old than it did then. Most of your
Wow.
lyrics and the songs, there's a positivity, a growth, a moving forward in them. Was it important to you, even as a solo artist, your songs still kept that kind of theme of uplifting? Is that important to you as you write a song, or looking back, is it something that just happened?
Great question. And first of all, let me tell you how lovely it is to get to hear somebody talk about things like the Time trilogy stuff and have it be meaningful to you even now. Like, thank you. That's a wonderful thing. Now, as far as the motivational, inspirational part of what it is that I do, and I mean, I was in a band that it was called Triumph. So that's where it starts. I was already in the band for 4 years when I wrote Hold On, and I went, oh, well, wait a sec. There's something happening here. There's an integration between the name of the band and what the band could be for those people that we play for every night and that get up on their seats. And I like this. I really like the feeling of this. And the other guys in the band were like, yeah, okay, Rik, yeah, whatever. But, I really felt like that I'd found something. Now, do I always want to be like I don't know, a goody two shoes that's always trying? Oh, I know I'm trying to be nice and do something good for people. Am I like a preacher where I go, oh, I want to preach? I go, no, I don't want to do either of those things. Like, really, even though you could listen to a lot of Triumph stuff, or a lot of Rik Emmett stuff, and go, it's kind of like he's preaching. It's kind of like he's up there in the pulpit and he's kind of preaching, And I would go, no, that's true. I see how you could think that, Or you go, oh, well, he's always trying to be so positive. Like, come on, life is crazy and it's shitty and it's hard and bad things happen. And why doesn't your music reflect that? I go, well, here's why. As a creative person, and this was why did I become a teacher in a college? Because I am the kind of person that goes, okay, yes, life is hard. Life can be cruel and it can break you. But are you going to get back up on your feet, and are you going to what's next? What's the next thing that happens? And so if I'm going to write a song, am I going to write a song and go, yeah, black, everything's black. It's bleak and it's black. That's everything is horrible. And that's my song. I'm just going to make a song about bleak and black. I would always say that my soul, my spirit goes, yeah, but what's next? What are you going to do about it? Because you're still here. You're writing a song. You're still kicking around a studio with a bunch of guitars. Why not try to say what's next? And then I go, Right. So and I think that's the answer to your question.
Yeah,
I'm kind of always
100%.
going, what's next?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now, kind of changing gears a little bit. I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has never been kind to Canadian music. It took Rush years to get in. You guys have received so much recognition in Canada for what you've done. Do you ever wonder or even care if you get that recognition in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where I think you guys really deserve to be?
Well, again, I'm going to say thank you for
Mm,
saying what you're saying, and I'm happy to hear it. I think you're dreaming in Technicolor,
yeah, a
and
little bit.
the re- the reason is because,
Mm,
um, first of all, in Canada, I mean, here's a truth about Triumph in Canada. We never won a Juno Award. We did get to go in the Juno Hall of Fame,
yeah.
but it was really because the Karis people kind of went, well, they've stuck around, they lasted so long, and they got back together again, and they did that, and the Industry Hall of Fame took them, and then the Rock Hall, so okay, we should give them a Hall of Fame award. So we got that, and I think it was literally just for persistence, for living long enough. Um, and the reason for that was because in the Canadian pool, in the early days, it was like, well, you're not going to win. Russia's going to win. Of
Yeah.
course, Russia's going to win. And then it was more like the Canadian music business had shifted. It was like, well, you're not going to win. Glass Tiger is going to win. You're not going to win. Platinum Blonde is going to win. It was like, yeah, okay. Things shifted. Like years later, I did a thing where I did a tour and I did an album with Pavlo and Oscar Lopez. It was like a guitar trio kind of a project. And we toured the country and we were up for an instrumental Juno of the Year. And I said to those guys, I looked at the thing and I said, we're never going to win. And they went, oh, Rik, you're so pessimistic. I go, no, I'm not. Like, I'm actually not. Professionally, I'm known as an optimist. The reason that I'm pessimistic about this is I go, there's a couple of people from Arcade Fire that did a little offshoot thing, and they have a voting block of a much larger label than the distributor for ours. We're never going to even get close. We won't get within sniffing distance politically. So I tell these stories to in the United States, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame politically, I mean, we were on RCA Records, which was of the 7 major labels, they were number 6. And then we sued them and we lost, and then we moved to MCA, and they were the 7th large. They were the smallest. They had the least impact of all the labels. Now, once they combined their publishing division with their record division, and then they went on this spree where they bought Motown, and they just kept acquiring catalogs, and they became now, the only game in town is Universal. Most of the other labels don't even exist. But at the time we were with these small labels, and not small, but the weakest ones. So voting wise, we were never that big. We didn't sell enough records. We didn't have enough of a commercial, industrial kind of impact to have it be that the people go, oh yeah, well, I remember when they went quadruple platinum. We never did go quadruple platinum. We struggled to get platinum, to get gold up to platinum, and it would eventually happen with some of the records, but not very many of them, and then you're in a world where there's Journey. Well, they went like 7 times platinum, 10 times platinum. Oh, there's Foreigner. There's some noise this year about Foreigner, and I don't think there's probably nothing in their catalog that was under 5 or 6 times platinum. Like they deserve to be in there. They really do. There's a good reason why McCartney is swearing. Have you seen that clip?
Yeah, that's great. He's not wrong either.
No, it's like they should have been in a long time ago. But there was a huge prejudice that Jan Wenner, it bled throughout the entire board of that thing, which was, no, we're only going to recognize the truly great, and the thing that defines truly great is what I say is truly great. And he thought Foreigner and Rush and Styx and Triumph, and he thought all that stuff was crap.
Yeah.
You know, he would hire writers to write stuff in Rolling Stone that would say, yeah, these bands are shit, they're terrible, they're crap. And so that became the sort of the standard thing of, yeah, well, no, we're not going to put them in the Hall of Fame.
Mm.
They're shitty. And you go, okay.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that you've already got another record done and book and a couple other projects. What's coming up? I know you retired from touring a few years ago. Do you ever see yourself getting on stage and doing anything? What's your next year or so look like?
Well, yeah, nice question because you've teed me up for all the stuff. I wrote these guitar pieces and recorded them, and then I wrote a book about them, and so that's going to become some sort of a packagey thing that, maybe by Christmas. I started writing some tunes again with Sam Reed's keyboard player in Glass Tiger, and he and I did a Christmas record a long time ago,
Yep.
like a long time ago.
Mhm.
And then last year we were going, hey, we should do a new one, do another one. And we went, yeah, we got together and we started writing some things like in the summertime of last year. And then we didn't make it, like we never got close. And so then lately we've been exchanging emails again. We go, hey, we should get that together, try to get that out this year. I go, yeah, we should. Yeah, yeah. Whether it'll happen, who knows? But that's another thing that's in the weeds. And then I'm doing a thing with a record label called Alma, where these guys in Music in Motion, they took the hard rock tracks, but there's a whole bunch of softer singer-songwritery, esoteric kind of stuff. And Alma is much more of a sort of a musician-oriented kind of a label. And I went, why don't you guys take some of these and then we'll do some new tracks and we could mix some of them in Atmos. And they're going, ooh, yeah, this is so. But the guy that runs that, Peter Cardinelli, old friend of mine, and he played on some of the songs on some of those records. Peter he's been facing some health issues. So who knows if that's going to, congeal or not, coalesce would have probably been a better word. And then let me see what else is happening. That's enough. Oh, there's a poetry book that's in the can, yes. And ECW Press has that, and it's called Lean Into It or Leaning Into It. I can't remember. It's one of the two. Anyhow, I don't know if that'll make it out this year. It might not. Poetry books, it doesn't really matter. Whenever they put it out, it's not going to become a bestseller in any. So that'll be more them doing me a favor. Yeah. I think they'll make more money on the 10 Telecaster tales, at which point then they'll go, yeah, let's do the poetry book now. You filled the coffers. So.
Well, we've been spending some time here with Rik Emmett. The new record is called Diamonds. It's a great trip down memory lane of those three amazing records in the early 90s. Rik, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. This has been fantastic. Best of luck with the record, your health, and all the stuff you have coming up in the next year.
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.